Rawr.
When did we all get this dumb?
Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about tax.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef.
Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
All right. We're here. Why I'm Angry podcasting again. 2 weeks in a row, we're getting to 2024 off to a great start. Lost our voice the first 3 weeks, so couldn't do much with that, but we are back, and we are better than ever. Remember, get on our merch store, whyimangry.com. And, you can get on, you can subscribe to us. There's a free subscription that gets you in the door to kind of seeing stuff and getting on our shop page. And then if you want to give us a one-time donation, or you want to be a supporter of the Why I'm Angry podcast, you can jump on. You can support us monthly. We'll have some deals going on here, and so you can kind of support us monthly, and you get some more inside videos, some articles that we're looking at, kind of what we're looking at instead of what you're always seeing piped into your face on TV and that. Also, we were getting ready to send out monthly or weekly, I'm not sure yet, updates and stuff, emails with articles and the news that we're really looking at and pushing on. And so, just a lot of good stuff. And get in, help us out, and that'll be awesome. So. It's only me today here in the Freestyle Man Cave studio, and we're going to muddle through somehow and get us going. So if you're listening to this on Friday morning, then you probably are getting the better deal of it, because you didn't have to look at the chef's face and only the chef. So we're going to get right into it. Russian plane crash. A Russian military transport crashed on yesterday in Belgorod, Russia, near the border of Ukraine. According to the video shot from cell phones, Russian military officials claimed that Ukraine shot it down, killing 74 people, including 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war, en route to a planned prisoner swap. Ukrainian officials did not confirm the reports, and the number and identity of the victims were not independently yet verified. Ukrainian officials did confirm that they did have a prisoner swap planned for yesterday. Swaps have occurred regularly throughout the 2 years. There's roughly 250 personnel returned to each side so far. Ukraine did acknowledge that it targets such planes suspected of carrying missiles. So maybe it's an issue. They just missaw the plane and didn't realize what day it was, which is not a funny thing. It is not... but, that's, we haven't heard about him a lot in the last 6 months or so. It's kind of been, what's going on. Winter is going on. So, this is the second winter of the war, and they're, they've kind of held the line. There's a lot of, just mainly posturing. Both sides are building up ammunition, and that's kind of the update from the Russia-Ukrainian war. To update also, there was an aid deal last week in Gaza. Update the Israeli war. I mean, I don't know, like, people, this aid is not going to help Palestinians. The aid that they sent over, they were supposed to send over 45 packages for hostages who have chronic illnesses, and then 1,000 boxes of medical aid would be provided for injured and sick Gazans for each box delivered to hostages. Now these boxes, I mean, they're getting delivered by the Red Cross, and you hope that the Red Cross is like on the ground giving out the aid and helping these people, you know. But, I mean, Hamas has been sitting in a hospital as their, a working hospital, not just the building is a hospital and that's their headquarters. No, it's a working hospital. And so that they made it their headquarters, so it was less likely to get bombed. It was less likely to be attacked. It was less likely that they would cut power to them. All that kind of stuff. So I really am super skeptical about, we gave aid to Gaza. This is the last week we surpassed the 100th day. Estimated 24,000 Palestinians have been killed, which is super bad. I mean, it's a lot. And but people are on the social medias and on your regular media quoting that's 70% of the Palestinian people. It's roughly 1% of the population. So, yes, they are killing people, and yes, but they are doing as much as they can to get Hamas and set them aside. And, these guys aren't your standard, terrorists that are just we're doing things and we can be, these guys have literally said it's either this or death, that they're going to attack Israel or death. And so, it's one of those deals where there isn't rehabilitation. There isn't changing their mind. This is a religious beliefs type thing. And if your religious beliefs really aren't this strong, then you need to think about what you actually believe religiously. And, not that I'm saying let's go out and, kill a bunch of people, but if your belief, even if your belief in Christianity isn't strong enough that you would die for your beliefs, might think about whether you really believe or not. There have been various protests calling for ceasefire. Others supporting Israel, or calling for the return of hostages. Obviously, we want the hostages returned. We want people who are not involved actively in war to not be involved actively in war. If that if we could do that 100%, it would be a utopian deal. So, it's funny, South Africa, who has a pretty good record with genocide, has called for the globe, the UN to do a ruling on whether Israel's Gaza offensive can be considered a genocide. The UN's top court is to issue a preliminary ruling on Friday. So if you're hearing this on the podcast, it should be coming out soon. If you're listening on Friday. I don't know why you wouldn't listen on Friday, because it comes out hot and ready on Friday for you. But, if you're listening to it later, go check that out if you haven't already, because I'm sure it's not going on the news as something great or big time news, unless Israel is found to be, participating in genocide. So, just update on the ground fighting has shifted to southern Gaza, with Israeli forces having swept downward after the initial focus on Gaza City in the north. The one interesting fact was Germany said Friday it would seek to intervene on Israel's behalf at the International Court of Justice against Israel for the genocide hearing, if there was something to enforce. So they're in principle, any ruling is meant to be legally binding for member nations, though the court has no enforcement mechanism. I mean, those 500,000 or how many ever thousand UN soldiers that they have, the peacekeeping troops, are not a mechanism for for enforcement. But just forget that we even have those. So, it's kind of our update on Israel. They're fighting. The Houthis, that are another kind of extremist group. We finally last week put them designated them as an extremist terrorist organization. Finally, what have they done that hasn't been extremist or they've been shooting missiles at our ship since Christmas. So we got another ship was attacked in the Red Sea this week. And we're just lobbing missiles and airstrikes in. I'm telling you, nothing is going to change until we put forces on the ground. And I hate to say that we need to put forces on the ground, because I don't know, but maybe we can put some drone shots on the, drones on the ground or something, or get some drones out there just blowing stuff up or whatever. But, I think this whole conflict with Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah, we're either going to go on the ground or something's going to hit us. I hate to be that guy, but I feel like that's just the gut feeling I have, and I hope somebody realizes that before it hits us here. So, all right. So, let's get into the real headlines from around the country. Alabama is, they've got a death penalty case coming up. They are going to execute using nitrogen gas, and it's expected to. Here we go. The state botches previous attempts to execute Kenneth Smith, prompting a new round of litigation over whether the state could put him to death using nitrogen gas. He is scheduled to be executed on Thursday using nitrogen gas, because they've had issues with the way that getting the IV intravenous setup done for the lethal injection, and they've had issues with getting the two medications into his veins and things of that nature. So he killed a guy in he was convicted in a 1988 murder for hire plot, and was sentenced to death back in 1988. So he's had a 35-year run, 36 years if you get into this year, on death row, which almost to me seems like it almost feels a little cruel, because for 30-some years he's been sitting there thinking, one of these days they're going to come and get me. And maybe not. Maybe he's just living life like, any day is his last, and he's just having a great time. He is in prison, so I'm sure he's not having that great a time, but you never know. Yeah. So, but they're going to do it with nitrogen gas, basically because they're filling the space that he's in with like 100% nitrogen gas. There just is it's non-toxic. So he's just going to suffocate to death. So, should be over fairly quickly, but he is going to suffocate to death. So he should fall asleep because his brain is deprived of oxygen, but that we'll see. I guess they'll see how well and how fast that works. So yeah, that's what's happening in Alabama. They tried to do the lethal injection in 2022, but the prison officials called it off basically because they were having troubles with the intravenous lines required for the injection. Yep. Scientists have achieved the world's first in vitro fertilization of the southern white rhino. Woo! White rhinos! White rhinos are super endangered. Its population has dwindled in Central and East Africa due to poaching. Only 2 northern white rhinos were known to exist. A mother named Najin and her daughter Fatu, who live in Kenya, were unable to carry pregnancies because of the age. I guess Fatu, yeah. And age and other ailments. Since 2019, scientists have they've been harvesting eggs from Najin. Sorry, the type was a different color. Najin and Fatu, and use the sperm of deceased males. So there's not even any males alive anymore. To artificially inseminate. So far, 30 northern white rhino embryos have been created and stored in liquid nitrogen in Italy and Germany, which researchers hope to eventually transfer into a southern white rhino surrogate. But first, scientists implanted a southern white rhino cura with an embryo of its own species to ensure the technique would work. Cura died 70 days into the pregnancy because of an infection caused by bacteria found in the soil. which was unfortunate. Scientists found the fetus had 95% chance of surviving the 16-month pregnancy had Cura not died. So there is a chance that we'll see northern white rhinos coming out of southern white rhinos very soon. Yay. Maine lawmakers are considering a bill that would protect anyone who takes a transgender child away from a non-affirming parent in order to subject them to minor experimental transgender medical interventions. So basically, a bill that has been introduced to the Maine House of Representatives Judiciary Committee vote that a transgender custody bill ought not to pass on Thursday. According to the footage of the committee posted online, the motion that the bill ought not to pass passed 12-0. So there's a bill. It's Transgender Custody Bill LD 1735. And basically it says that anyone that is refusing to their kids gender affirming care, that they should that they shouldn't be able to have their kids. That's like some kind of child abuse or something like that. So they say that if you kidnap that kid and take that kid away and allow them to have gender affirming care, then you're a hero, kind of like Robin Hood or something, and that you won't be charged with kidnapping. Yeah. So they did vote it down today. It did finally fail, and 12-0, which is kind of what it should be. I mean, there shouldn't ever be a bill that allows, kids to be trafficked or kidnapped. Yeah. But there shouldn't ever be a bill that's even introduced. Like, this is how far we've kind of fallen from the tree here. That the bill's framing around gender affirming care overlooks the testimony of doctors who warn that even the social transition of encouraging a boy to present as a girl is a powerful psychotherapeutic intervention that radically changes outcomes. Doctors also warn that children can't possibly give informed consent for procedures that may sterilize them or put them at risk of long-term side effects, such as decreased bone density and cardiovascular disease. So, there's all kinds of this. Doctors say, you need to wait until they can actually make this decision. We don't allow them to drink alcohol, join the military, or, get married until they're 18. And yet we're letting them make a decision that is, just completely life altering. They can't be redone. Like, if you get a vasectomy, you can at least, reverse it and go back to being a fertile man. if you get this done, you can't reverse it and go back to being a fertile man or go back to being a lovely woman, fertile also or not fertile. You're just done. Everything has been done. And there's no, I mean, it's just mutilation. So, I mean, I don't even feel like this really falls into to each their own, decide what you want to do after, it's just crazy. So, anyhow, before I alienate anyone else, lawmakers in Maine did the right thing after doing the wrong thing and at least shot it down. Jon Stewart announced that he is returning to The Daily Show after 9 years. So, he's going to return to The Daily Show as the Monday night host and executive producer, because for the last 9 years he has pretty much been an ineffective voice for nothing. He hasn't been relevant. So this is his way of basically coming out of, the wilderness and being semi-relevant to a group of people who don't think for themselves relevantly. But he's going to do it funny. He's going to be funny about it. So watch him and laugh. Sad news. Jim Harbaugh is departing Michigan, looks like, and going to the Los Angeles Chargers. I will not be rooting for the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, I've followed most of my life because he was in Michigan as a quarterback in 1982 and won some stuff in 1984. And, just kind of followed him as a kid growing up. Excited he was a Michigan coach. But, c'est la vie. Now he's on to a team that I'm no longer, I'm not going to be affiliated with. I'm not going to like him. And hopefully he does just fine. Just kind of disappointed. Had a chance to come back to either the Bears or, something. But, I understand. Money talks. Opportunity with a great quarterback talks. And there he is. So let's talk about something that's close to my heart. Let's talk about some food. James Beard Award. They announced their restaurant and chef semifinalists. Basically, this is the third award season since they did an extensive 2021 audit. And they addressed some long-standing biases. If you haven't been in the food industry, if you haven't been anywhere past your food industry experience as a fast food whatever or waitress as a high schooler, then you may not realize this 100%, but you'll have a little insight into it. But the food industry is super political. It's super who you know and what you've done for me lately and who you'll have a beer with type thing. In the best sort of way, it's a who you had of a beer with type thing and who you haven't pissed off or who you haven't, rubbed the wrong way or stepped on toes wise. It's sad that even in when I was in the food truck world, after I had left the big time chef world, it was still kind of like that. Like restaurants didn't want you to be within so many feet of their building, which I understand not parking in front of that building. But here's the deal. Restaurants have seats and should have great ambience, should have great servers, and all of that kind of thing. A food truck shouldn't be able to steal your people, your customers, because you have such great ambience, and that's why they're coming to you. If you're doing a crappy job and a food truck steals your customers, that's your fault. Same thing with regular restaurants. And this is probably why I didn't play well in the food scene, because I don't care about all that. I want to serve and this is what we've lost in this country. This is why our country is going to be great again. We had greatness when we attained to be the best. And so as a chef, I attained to be the best. Even as a food truck chef, I was there to serve the best food possible in an interesting way. Give them a little show, all the fire and the yelling and things of that nature, and give them some great food. And bring it, in a way that, like, we could bring it cheaper. We could bring it, in a higher quality. We were selling probably $15 burgers and fries for $10 in a food truck, where it would have been $15 or $20 in a restaurant, because it was ribeye steak and it was the highest quality, and we were grinding it right there, and you were getting basically fresh ground every day, fresh made potatoes for French fries, fresh fries, crispy, ready to go. I mean, it was it. So anyhow, the industry is super political, super biased, and a lot of it's biased even for just regions. So you kind of get a regional bias. Who's the best, New York or LA, and so you get a lot of LA and New York chefs in there. Chicago gets a pretty good nod from time to time. There's a gala in Chicago in June. That the winners will be revealed. And so they just announced, and they say they skew, the groups that skews white and male. Male, there are about 70%, and I don't know the exact odds or the exact numbers, because when I was coming into the culinary scene, they were saying it was about 80% male. And I've heard over the last few years it was down to 70% male. And women were breaking in. And there was a little bit of a difference in pay. It's not, it wasn't, it was a lot worse back when I first started than it has been over the last few years and stuff like that. It's become a lot more equal. As you're seeing those things happen, which is great. So I guess the awards were still skewed that way, which kind of makes sense, because that's kind of how the setup was. So they're trying to overdo it and put, audit that at least 50% of the committee members and judges are people of color, which isn't a true representation of actually how the field runs. But who am I to say that isn't fair? So, the categories are, and I'll just kind of go through the categories. The restaurants, these are still in the semifinals of this, so they'll knock it down to finals, and then who actually wins over the next month or two here, as they're getting ready to get to the June 10th final. It looks like other nominees for media award nominees will be revealed on April 30th. And they'll be awarded on April 8th or June 8th, right before the June 10th finale. But if you don't know, the James Beard Award is kind of the award, like the top award for food industry professionals. You don't have to be a member of the American Culinary Federation, but you do need to be you need to be pretty high up in doing things, pretty on the level. Plus, you need to know somebody. But they have changed the areas so that it's not so California, New York, centric. They have a separate award for California, Texas, and New York as their own kind of region, because they do have such a high concentration of restaurants and high-end chefs, and I guess spotlighted chefs. Being in Ohio, we don't have a ton of spotlighted chefs other than like your Michael Simons and stuff like that were on Iron Chef and are on the Food Network and stuff. So, so then the award, they're giving out an award for the Outstanding Restaurateur, which is basically a restaurateur who uses their establishment as a vehicle for building community, demonstrating creativity and entrepreneurship, and integrity in restaurant operations, and is making efforts to create sustainable works. There are a few restaurants around the country that are looking at are getting into the semifinals for that. A couple out of Washington D.C., bakery out of Texas, Missouri, Detroit is about as close as it gets to me. Chicago, Illinois. You got a Maine and a New Hampshire, and then most of them are D.C. and you got a Boulder, Colorado. So. Lot of husband and wife groups, which is kind of surprising to me because back in the day it was, it was pretty popular to be divorced as a chef. So, but I guess maybe if your wife was a high-end chef with you and fought in the trenches, then maybe that's there's a way to keep you guys together type thing, or that you're both at the restaurant 95% of the time. So. Then an outstanding chef is a chef who sets high culinary standards and has served as a positive example for other food professionals while contributing positively to the broader community. Again, New York, Colorado, California, Atlanta, Georgia has one. San Francisco, Minneapolis, Texas. If I'm not mistaken, there was one other Detroit, but maybe not. No, don't look like a Detroit. There's Chicago from Smythe. So, outstanding restaurant is a restaurant that demonstrates consistent excellence in food, atmosphere, hospitality, and operations while contributing positively to the broader community. Again, there's one in Detroit, Virginia, Colorado, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Texas. Washington, got New York. You got one in Kentucky. That's a big one. And then, so, and most of these, honestly, aren't a lot of your, like, Food Network chefs. You'll see some of the people from Food Network chefs. You'll see some of the Food Network chefs in that. But most of the time, you're going to see people who are working in the trenches. They work too much to be on the Food Network. Emerging chef. This is the one I was actually saying when there was one in Louisville. Pennsylvania has one finally. Detroit again. The Pennsylvania one's Philadelphia, so kind of not even really. But again, kind of spread out, mostly on the coasts. And then that's emerging chefs, which are chefs that are who display exceptional talent, character, and leadership, who are likely to make a significant impact over the next few years, while contributing positively to the broader community. You've got Best New Restaurant, which are new restaurants that obviously are excellent and contributing to the broader community. Outstanding Bakery, again, bakery that has excellent products, and you got one from Hawaii, one from Utah, so some new spaces there. You've got Outstanding Pastry Chef or Baker, and again, somebody who is a candidate that demonstrates exceptional skills. This one was kind of cool. Affiliated with any food business and does not need a brick and mortar presence. So could be a food truck, could be, any other kind of pop-up deal. Then you got Outstanding Hospitality. Those are normally like your bar managers and things of that nature. Community is a big thing. We do, as restaurateurs, although we do fight and get into ourselves too much, we do normally try to get on and be good citizens. Try to at least at least be part of the community and buy local. We even when I was in the food truck, I lost a little profits here and there because of buying locally or trying to buy higher quality from a local vendor. So we just, and then they got Outstanding Wine and Other beverage program. So it's not just wine, and it's also, you got your bar, you've also got your non-alcoholic deals also. So there has been a giant push in the market if you're looking for something to invest in. The non-alcoholic beverages is a huge market right now that's growing exponentially, because of people just trying to be more responsible, be healthier, live longer, and that kind of thing. So and then you got Outstanding Bar, you got Best Chef, and then you've got the different areas. So California is now its own area. You've got the Great Lakes, which is Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. We've got a couple near me. That's kind of cool. And then you got Best Chef Mid-Atlantic, which is DC, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. You got Best Chef Midwest, and these are all kind of the regional deals where you get Best Chef for the region, and then you get the Best Chef. So, and Best Chef Midwest is Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin. And then you got Best Chef Mountain. Mountain is Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Utah, and Wyoming. And then you got New York, which is the whole state, not just New York City. And then you got Northeast, which is Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. And then Best Chef Northwest Pacific, which is Alaska, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington. And then Southeast, which is Georgia, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Which I guess there's two from West Virginia. But I was gonna say West Virginia is way under established. Best Chef South, which is Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Puerto Rico. I was like, what state is PR? Puerto Rico. And then you got Southwest, which is Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, and Oklahoma. Then Texas is its own spot. So that's kind of the long, boring, news to my life. So you get a bunch of great chefs. If you want, I will post this on our, on our Facebook. I'm just post it in the chat here, and you can check out these restaurants if you're near it. So I'm gonna check out a few of the restaurants. So let's get back to all right. So the Mac turns 40. Mac as in Apple computer, Macintosh. 40 years ago, Steve Jobs announced the first Macintosh computer at a California event. The original cost was $2,400, almost 25, and it hasn't changed much over the last 40 years. So they say that $2,400 would be about $7,300 today. And yeah. So Burrito Boom, the Chipotle, or Chipotle as it is, said it's adding 19,000 new employees over to its 110,000 employee person workforce ahead of its busy spring. It's 27% up from last year. I mean, I'm seeing a little growth in restaurants, but I'm seeing a little fallback. So in the industry, I've seen a lot of the big chain restaurants that were either low end, like your Burger Kings and fast food, and I've seen kind of your mid ranges, like your Applebee's or Ruby Tuesdays and stuff like that, fall off. I've always said, in the restaurant business, you can either be the best or you can be the cheapest. But if you're in between, you're always on that razor's edge of falling off because you're not making tons of money because you're not the cheapest, and you're not bringing in customers and buzz because you're the best. When you're somewhere in between, you're just somewhere in between. And so you're always on that edge of, you can lose it if you want. Johnson & Johnson had a couple bad days here. They agreed to pay $700 million to settle investigations by more than 40 states over talcum powder-based baby powder, which I didn't realize it, but I didn't think about. I haven't, I don't put baby powder on my baby anymore, or haven't put it on her. And that was something that was big back, when I was a kid in the 80s, or when my brother and sister were coming up through the 80s and 90s. When you changed the baby's diaper, you put a little baby powder, dried them up, and boom, boom, bang, went on. So, and then today they actually agreed to pay $149 million to Washington State to settle a claim. It helped fuel the opioid crisis. So almost $1 billion between the two, about $850 million, and decide to get there. This is one that I was hoping I could get some other views on. But this is something that we've talked about a little bit. It's America's religious nons. Pew Research staff has come on and said a long-running survey reveals that close to 30% of Americans describe themselves as religiously unaffiliated, with most believing in a higher power, but feeling skeptical and disconnected about religious institutions. And I will say, like, as a believing Christian, like, just, as a sold out Christian, I feel your pain on that, because there are so many places, so many issues with the church, issues with the people who are members. And that's where I think the problem lies, is that we've all been disenfranchised, we've all gone through things, but I don't know that we all realize that that's not really the religion or the relationship that you have with God. It's people interpreting how you should live, or how, the rules of the road and things. And I know that I get kind of swamped on by, once in a while, by saying, by pushing back and saying that the rules aren't as cumbersome as we try to make them. That if you just follow a few simple, thoughts and guidelines in your life, that the rest of it shouldn't matter too much. And so I think that it's easy to get caught up in the who's and what's and why I can't do this, and this they and just get lost in all of that. But the survey data says that most non-affiliateds believe in God or another higher power, but very few go to religious services regularly. Most say religion does some harm, but many also think it does some good, and they are not uniformly anti-religious. Most nons reject the idea that science can explain everything, but they express more positive views of science than religiously affiliated Americans do. So I think what happens a lot of times is we look to science to answer the questions, and instead we don't look at science to as an affirmation to what we're seeing. So a lot of times we see that we we get an answer and we think, oh well, that just proves God exists. And that's what science really actually is supposed to do. Or somebody gets on and says science says this, and science says proves that he doesn't. Well, really, if you take the data for whatever you want, you can skew data in any way you want to. But when you go down to the truths of things, the actual what and the nuts and bolts of it is, if you can't, like, if your explanation is, well, just a bang happened and there it is, and all creation started. Well, I would much rather, believe that there was an actual something involved in that creation than there was just a bang and then matter was there. So science can prove that there was a beginning, and the Bible says how it actually began. But science can't decide what that bang happened to be from. They can't say that, matter, infinitesimally, the universe was floating. Where was the universe made? When, what made the universe so that there was a bang? Can't prove it. Can't say it. Can't, like, what made this? And so we look to science as affirmations at times of the things that happened. There was a major world-changing event. Well, yeah, the Bible says, there was a day of floods. Well, you can say it came from wherever, and science can say, well, yep, there was a day of flooding that, they just said Everest is marine limestone. Well, it's because at one point it was underwater. Just like the Bible says, all of Earth was underwater. So it's an interesting read. I mean, there's a lot of interesting, like, this is why they're, and we've seen this in the church. And I don't, if you're not part of the church or the religiously affiliated, or if you've kind of you've been going to church and you realize, attendance isn't as robust or as young as it used to be. Well, this is what it is that, people get online and they watch their church from home and they feel like they've attended a service, and they're just, people aren't as socially minded. And I guess this is part of why, we're being more socially minded in the restaurant industry. Why, they're trying to push that as a community effectiveness. But it even says, question 3, are nones less involved in civic life than people who identify with a religion? And by a variety of measures, religious nones are less civically engaged and socially connected than people who identify with religion. On average, they're less likely to vote, less likely to have volunteered lately, less satisfied with their local communities, and less satisfied with their social lives. And honestly, it's mainly because, they're still searching for that. Yes, maybe they have a religious affiliation, but they, going to the actual building and having some real life social interaction and having some talks and just, that iron sharpening iron, as opposed to just, I'll check it out and see what the guy says. And nothing against pastors, but they're guys saying. It's just like, if you just, if you don't go to God with your prayers and you just read your Bible, then you're missing a part of it. And if you're not going to, the actual social events, you're missing a part of it. And so, yeah, you're not going to feel as fulfilled. You're not going to be socially as engaged or civically as engaged. And you're not going to be getting yourself out there. Introvert, extrovert. Introverts, yeah, but there's a way that they still can engage in life. And the more and more you push into being that, the less and less likely you're going to get out. Question 4, are all non-believers? No. They already answered that. That's stupid. They already said that they weren't. But number 5, are nons spiritual instead of religious? And yes, about half of them are saying that they're more spiritual. As in they, some of them are just, they feel that there is something beyond themselves. But they don't, I don't know what exactly it is. And so people are searching. And that's going to flip you into a more or less not, non-fulfilled state also. Is that you're just, if you have answers and you have truth, you're obviously going to feel more fulfilled in your life, more stable, more grounded. This whole, like, running around with your shoes off, so that you feel grounded, just get a little Jesus. I mean, get a little prayer, get a little truth, and you won't have to worry about quite as much being grounded. But no, question 6: Are nuns hostile against religion? And some can be negative about it, but most of them are not. Most of it's just question 8: How do nuns think about morality? Most of them have positive values. You can have great values and things of that nature without 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 wanting to kill people or without wanting to you know do the wrong thing. But that's also a form of your growing up and your nurturing and your environment, is that there is some time to kind of wake up and be affirmed, be trained and things of that nature. So, logic and reasoning and stuff like that, you're going to learn some of the good stuff in school or in your daily life. Your parents, unless they were like completely terrible, are going to teach you some sort of right from wrong. So, this is like 83% desire to avoid hurting people. 82 logic, believe in the logic and reasoning. It feels good to do the right thing. 69% will do it because of that. 60% desire to stay out of trouble. 52, it's a way that they were raised, which seems low to me, but 48% say that the belief that what goes around comes around is a big belief, and then 12% says because of their religious beliefs, which is funny because they're non-religious or not denominational, but non practicing or whatever. So just non-affiliated, I guess, unaffiliated. So it's an interesting read. It'll be on our website, and you'll be able to kind of get it there. But it just states what we've been saying over the last year or two, even with the whole United Methodist thing and stuff like that, is where it's just that things are getting a little rough, and like I just said, the truth is the truth, and if you can stand on the truth, you'll have a good foundation, a good solid spot, and you'll know you're rooted. You'll feel more accomplished, more satisfied with your civics, and you'll also feel more empowered um, to live with your beliefs. So, I mean, you can be religious and it's kind of like I said, if you're not as zealous as Hamas in whether you will live or die for your beliefs, then your beliefs probably aren't real. They're just notions, things you think about. So, something to think about. Let's get into some of our odd headlines. I'm gonna be a little shorter podcast today. I'm not going to 2 or 3 hours by myself, but we will get to some funny stuff or some more interesting stuff. Odd headlines start off with a city's missing statue turns up after nearly 30 years in a local yard. I read this one a little bit beforehand, doing some prep work and stuff, And basically, this David Greer said his father worked on a renovation project in 1996 at the Belvedere and elevated event space in downtown Louisville when he brought home the statue. His dad said they tossed it to the side, and he asked if he could have it. Someone said sure, and that's where his life began at their house. And so this Greer started looking up some stuff about it, and I guess probably his dad passed or whatever, and found out that the the Louisville Metro Public Arts Department had been searching for the artwork for 30 years now, and so he offered it up. And honestly, his dad could have been right. Somebody could have said, could have tossed it off to the side, and he asked if he could take it with him. They said, yeah, sure, that's no big deal. And he takes it, and somebody's like looking around, hey, where's that statue? And they thought it was just a topiary statue or some like hardscape statue that had and this was really an art piece from from Charlotte Price. And so it had some value to it and stuff. And so they're like, oh, I'm not sure where that went. It just must have gotten picked up or somebody picked it up. And then so for 30 years it's been gone in somebody's backyard. Not even, after the first week or two, nobody sees the pictures of it anymore looking for it. And or you didn't, you weren't on, if you didn't see the news or whatever, or back in 96, the news didn't travel as fast as it does today, and there's not 800 people, posting photos of it. It looks pretty rough, like it's been sitting outside without any, reparations and stuff like that, for 30 years. So, but 30-year statue gets returned. So, California man collects 1,136 hotel key cards and earns himself the world record. As a traveler of many years, I could tell you I could the thing that I had questions is were they all different? Because like I could get 2 or 3 at each hotel I went to. And you think about it, if you go to 2 or 3 hotels, or you get 2 or 3 cards from 5 years of traveling, 40 hotels a year. So that's 120 hotels. I could get to about 360. 5 years, 40. Yeah, I could get to, wow. So if I went to 500 hotels or 5 years of traveling, 40 hotels a year at least, because I did travel in my off time some also as a younger man. So that would be 200 times 3. So that's 600. That's 600 just without even doing any extra traveling. And then, did another 3 years at probably 30 show, 30 deals a year. So another 90 key cards. Plus, if I got 2 of them, so 180. So, I mean, within 10 years, I could probably have gotten. So, I wonder if, like, looking at it, wondering if it's different hotels, if he's just like, if it's a card for each time he stopped. So, I don't know. I guess if it's a different one card for each trip, 1,000's a lot. I'm thinking I'm just about getting to about 600 or 700 hotel stays over the years of travel that I've been in. So 1100 would be a good deal. This guy looks like he's been around a little while. He said he started traveling frequently since the 90s. And he earned a Guinness Book of World Records. So this is another one of those everyman heroes. I'm gonna give him some applause. Yep, little cheering. Maybe that a little more crowd cheer on top of the applause. Yep. All right. So, all right, that's plenty. That's plenty. All right. So, one other thing I saw, a Pink Floyd CD was returned after 35 years. So this one-ups that missing statue. A library in Maryland, in Laurel Branch Library in Maryland, said they were surprised to see a Pink Floyd CD with the labels and stuff like that from the library attached to it, that they hadn't seen in 35 years. So they said that they don't know who it was because it's been taken out of the system. It's been gone for so long. And that even if it had been in the system and they did know, they wouldn't have charged them anything because they are no longer a fine or fee library system anymore. So 35 years, keep that Pink Floyd. I'm kind of wondering like what happened there. The guy just realized, nobody uses CDs anymore and said, "Oh, I'm going to take it back." Has the whole CD now on digital. I don't know. U.S. scientists brewed up a storm by offering Britain advice on making tea. So this U.S. scientist wrote a whole book on the chemistry of tea. He's a chemistry professor at a college, Brian Maher College. Michelle Francie. So I guess I don't know if it's a he or she, I guess. Yep, don't know if it's a he or she. Michelle is probably a woman's name. But it does sound French, so you never know. It says that the tip is included in Francie's book. It's called Steeped: The Chemistry of Tea. He went over 100 different molecules or compounds in tea and just did a full on breakdown of tea. And just he now understands tea. And he said his tip is to add a pinch of salt, which got everybody going. And so they got so excited that they even interviewed the U.S. Embassy in London to get a word from them, and they gave out the notion that let us unite in our steeped solidarity and show the world that when it comes to tea, we stand as one, said the tongue-in-cheek post. The U.S. Embassy will continue to make tea in the proper way by microwaving it. The embassy later clarified, because no one has any kind of sense of humor or ability to critically think, that it was a light-hearted play on our shared cultural connections rather than an official press release. sad. The worst part about this is that it's sad that they had to then come back out with a statement that this was just a lighthearted play on our shared connections instead of being able to like realize that this is not an official statement by the US government. And even if it was, what would it matter? Like, we threw your tea in the harbor because you're a bunch of jerks and you're taxing us to death. You want to go again? I mean, come on, man. We are 2-time World War champions. Don't mess with us. But anyhow, we're long gone from those days. So scientist brews up a storm by offering Britain advice on tea. There's a YouTuber that's wanted in Colorado for going 150 miles an hour on his motorcycle, videotaping it, which is your downfall. If you're gonna do something dumb, like at least don't let yourself be known as doing it. But Rendon Dietzman, which obviously they know who he is, a 32-year-old from Texas, recorded himself on September 28th going more than 150 miles an hour, squeezing through small gaps in traffic and traveling on the shoulder. The biggest thing they saw was that he recorded himself speeding from Colorado Springs to Denver metro area in 20 minutes. I can attest that this is about an hour trip. It really is. And people drive terribly. Like we talked about last week, I know, about all of the Colorado drivers stopping or slowing way down on the highway at the top of hills. Well, that makes it an hour even more. It's just an infuriating hour of driving. So the fact that he made it in 20 minutes is amazing. I mean, it is like probably a 35, 40 mile drive. So, yeah. So he's topping out at more than 150 miles an hour. And so they're basically they basically are wanting him on charges of menacing, which they want to throw out all the time, engaging in a speed contest, reckless endangerment, which is always thrown out, reckless driving, like always given out as an issue. It's kind of like RICO charges for gang members, is that they'll definitely try to get you on whatever they can, anytime they can. And then the video has since been deleted. Oh, wait, there was a couple other charges. Oh, yeah. 40 miles over the speed limit, engaging in an exhibition of speed and driving without a license plate attached. So, all of those things. He has deleted the video, but the state patrol shared a clip of the video with a news release that he is wanted in Colorado. So I'm sure eventually he'll call up and he'll, or an attorney will call. He'll get an attorney. I mean, he's done this in other states and other areas. The state patrol coordinated with the Dallas Police Department in Texas and El Paso County District Attorney's Office in Colorado to identify the rider as Dietzman, whose hometown was not released, but he is from Texas. I mean, really, I guess like this state patrol sergeant says that if you drive like this kind of punishment is expected, and honestly, it's the best outcome for the person who drives violently, since the smallest mistake could cause his death and that of innocent people around him. So, which is kind of true. So I guess a number of drivers around him also complained, and that kind of thing. So put him on the radar. Don't if you're going to commit crimes, let's not videotape it. And and if you are going to, make sure you're not going back there ever, I guess. Pink Floyd returned. Wow. All right, we got one last one. Yep, one last one. A Kansas couple was charged with collecting a man's retirement while keeping his body in their home for 6 years. Yep. I mean, at least, if nothing, they did keep his body for the 6 years that they collected more than $215,000 in retirement benefits on his behalf. I mean, he was a relative. He was dead. He probably wasn't doing them any good if they had buried him. So keeping him, I mean, they were keeping his legacy alive, and doing some good. He was doing some good for them. So you can only hope to die, and your family continue to use you to keep your memories alive. But yeah, this couple has been charged with fraudulently collecting, so they're gonna lose that $216,000, and they'll probably remember it though, as they're sitting in jail or something. So, but with that, remember to follow, like, and share us. Yeah, we're still doing the if you give me a 5-star, give us a 5-star review or a 1-star review. If you give us a 1-star review, at least make it make it interesting, make it a funny one. But we'll put your name in a hat, and you'll be in the running for a t-shirt. Why I'm Angry podcast t-shirt. Obviously, if you give us a 1-star review and you really actually hate us, well, you might not revel in that, but give us a review, help us out. Free ways to help us out. Give us a review and send an invite to all your friends or people that you don't like. Either way, our name gets out to more people, and we appreciate that. So get on our website, whyimangry.com. There will be some updates here on the Christmas stuff. Will kind of start to go away, the holiday stuff. There will be some New Year's resolution style sales going on, and we're going to be cleaning out some of the old last year stuff and getting ready for the new year. So now that we're already almost 3 weeks in, maybe almost 4 weeks in now, it's time to get ready. So this has been the Why I'm Angry podcast, and it ends now.
Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcasts. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.